Well, it's Saturday. It's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I feel like going running, folks. Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John. Of course, thank you very much for watching, for liking the video and hitting subscribe. Truly appreciated. This is the rundown. Friday's video we try and cover on Saturdays, right? Because we have the exclusive stream and stuff going on Fridays. The rundown is your show. The rundown is a show where we cover the comments again from Friday's video on Saturday, both the live chat and the replay crowd. So yesterday morning, we were talking about the Deagle report, which is the Deagle report. I will link it down below once again where it says Intel in the video description, but it basically the government wanted to know, what are the projections for the United States and other countries moving forward in terms of GDP and population growth or decline, and why. So this is why the Deagle report exists. Take it with a grain of salt because, again, predictions are not always accurate, okay? But this one seems to be. I'm going to start with the live chat. Forrest, as promised, Forrest wants me to mention FJB. he said, write that down, FJB. So I did. There you go, Forrest. William Pence. The only way we would see this kind of depopulation in the United States and abroad would be with nukes. So depopulation, according to the Deagle report, is anywhere from 70 to 80% globally by the end of 2025. The United States in particular, 68% was the target for depopulation, they're saying, and the GDP was way down. It was in minus 80%, somewhere around in there. And so William Pence is saying the only way that that is accomplished would be through the use of nukes, during a time of war or something like that. So as we were chatting about yesterday morning, what's interesting about the Deagle report, are they talking about American patriots maybe during the time of that report and them having been replaced by people that are just swarming the country at this point? Or are we talking about depopulation altogether? Nukes, maybe. If we're talking about depopulation altogether. But as I said yesterday, the globalists, the vampires that meet in Switzerland, folks, those are the globalists when I say that. Those are the folks that I'm talking about. I don't know that they want to nuke the world because they need the world. They have to have something left to control and make it make sense. But to your point, 70 to 80% depopulation, that's a huge number. I don't see a conventional World War III getting rid of that many people. I don't know that a pandemic, unless it is just totally off the rails, nothing like the C-19. I mean, we're talking a total off the rails pandemic for 70 to 80%. We're talking Black Plague style. Nukes would help you accomplish a lot. I agree with that. JRC Homestead, is this counting all of the illegals in our country? I don't know. That's the thing. That's what I was chatting about yesterday. I think according to the Deagle report, they were looking at the United States at that time. And we did have a problem with illegal immigration for sure, but nothing like we're seeing it, in October 2023, right? I mean, they're just flooding in at this point. So I don't know that they were counting all of the illegals. I don't know that they were anticipating all of that because we have the advantage of hindsight. We can look back and say, well, these problems have popped up since that time. Cody V, the government is here to help. I think I'm going to call this video that. The government is here to help. I think Cody V was being tongue in cheek. I sense some sarcasm there. I pray there's sarcasm in that comment because the government ain't here to help and they will never be here to help. especially people like us that are trying to work and trying to fund the country. If you're here illegally, yeah, they're here to help, at least for a little while, but not us. They're not going to help you. Please, please continue to prepare, stack, grow, anticipate the worst without being scared out of your mind. Okay. Flint McRock said, remember the Alamo. We touched on that during the exclusive stream, actually. And Flint, I was telling the folks over there that it feels like conservatives in 2023 in the United States, maybe other countries, I'm not sure, because I'm in the United States, right? I'm not in Australia or Canada, so I can't sit here and say feels like this in Canada. But it feels like in the United States that conservatives are protecting the Alamo at this point. Feels like a last stand moment for us in many, many ways. So that's a relevant comment, and I do appreciate that. Unfortunately, I think all but one of the inhabitants of the Alamo died trying to protect the Alamo. So hopefully this one ends differently. Ed Benoit, 80% of Americans are in cities. He said. Excellent point. You know, if you're going to depopulate, especially getting back to William Pence's comment with nukes, if you're going to depopulate that amount of people here in the United States, it's feasible to believe that if nukes are involved and they hit major cities, you're going to accomplish that very quickly, as opposed to, again, a conventional war or boots on the ground that's going to hit rural America. Um, I'm not big on living in cities anyway. Y'all know this. I understand certain people, you know, they have circumstances where they cannot leave a city for whatever reason, or they think they can't leave the city. But if it's possible, I would encourage it moving forward. If you can get out of a city, get out of the city. Um, Black Cat Whirly Gig, become purge proof. I would say I would add at least do the best you can. Can't prep for everything. You can't be prepared for every single scenario that's going to pop up, but you can be prepared for as much as humanly possible. It's taxing mentally, right? It's taxing mentally sometimes. You can get to a point where you burn out on it. I think most of us in here have probably experienced that multiple times, but good on you. If you've experienced burnout and you're still hammering away at it, good on you, because that's a huge mental roadblock for a lot of people and they do get through it. But to your point, become purge proof, stack ammo, have necessary ways to defend your home, to defend the castle, to defend your property. Understand if food is going to be used as a weapon, you've got to find a way around that. You can't trust the government. The government is not here to help. Sorry, Cody V. You can't trust the government to feed you and take care of you. And this is what prepping is all about. I would gamble to say that most of the people in this chat right now on this fine Saturday afternoon do not trust the government. Now, we may have various reasons for that, but at the end of the day, we don't trust the government to take care of us and to nanny us. And this is prepping. This is, I'm going to take care of myself and my family, and I'm not going to put it in the hands of DC to do that for me. And that to me is part of being purge proof as well, because I don't think it's just going to come down to lead flying. I think a lot of this is going to come down to food and clean water and things like this. Dale Stoner, this all equals civil war. It might. We were talking about the national divorce yesterday in the exclusive stream, and I think it may have been, it was either Shady or Mad Outdoorsman. I don't remember who brought it up, but they were talking about a national divorce, civil war. And I made the argument that, you know, I would prefer to see revolution, because I think a civil war, we all lose in a civil war situation. Nobody's the better for it. We become weaker as a nation, or as multiple nations, we become weaker on a global stage. But I also understand that not a lot of people are willing to stand up revolution style, or it seems to be that way at least in 2023. So it may equal a civil war at some point. And a civil war would heavily depopulate the United States, but I don't know where the rest of the depopulation comes from because again, the Deagle report hits all of the major nations, not just the United States. Happy to see you. We were talking about Joe Biden. All of the sudden, he wants to build a wall. He wants to build a wall to keep the illegals out. And happy to see you says Biden wants to build a wall because liberal mayors are complaining. Liberal mayors are like, we don't know what else to do. We said we were a sanctuary city. The same thing, that happened to I don't remember the community, the small island. Do y'all remember that the name of the community? I can't remember it now. All of the rich people that live there, Martha's Vineyard, I believe. They're all rich. Oh, we welcome illegals. And then when the illegals started coming in mass, they're like, oh my God, we got to get these people out of here. They're ruining our way of life. I think this is starting to happen to liberals in your poshy gated community. Liberals are starting to worry they're going to be affected now. And it's starting to affect Biden's voter base, which is a sad crowd in itself, let me just say. And I think Biden realizes this, and he's not actually going to stop the problem. He's building 20 miles of wall. That ain't enough on the southern border. I'm sorry, that's just not enough. He's doing just enough so he can talk about it and look like he actually cares about the issues. Because again, we're in an election cycle. So switching over now to the replay crowd. Robin H. Always thought the Deagle report was their plan and not a prediction. So it looks like a plan that was drawn up by the WEF. I'll give you that much credit, but it's actually a prediction that was done by our own government. They realize, okay, we're not going to hit the population numbers that we're used to. We're not going to hit the GDP that we're used to. We're trying to figure out why and who's going to be affected and how badly. And that's where the Deagle report came from. It was initially, I think it was classified, but then it was declassified. And again, I will link that down below. PM Stacker. The fuse has been lit for 3 years now. There's no going back here in the United States. I would agree with that statement. I think the damage is done. Get into Biden and his wall. His all of the sudden he's got this idea to build a wall after Trump was demonized for the same idea. The damage has been done. You've let too many people in. If you're not willing to mass deport these people out, I mean, what is a wall going to even do at this point? Especially just a 20-mile wall. The fuse has been lit by mainstream media, pouring gasoline all over the place and striking matches and just throwing them down. The fuse has been lit by politicians on both sides of the aisle. This deep divide in our country is not going anywhere, folks. It's going to continue to get worse. There's no going back. So I agree with that. For me, PM Stacker, it's just a matter of what we're going to stumble into next because the country itself we're stumbling. We're getting ready to fall. We're in a slow fall. Those slow, ugly falls. You ever seen somebody do that where they just trip and it's like this theatrical 10-second stumbling around trying to grab anything you can before you finally hit the ground? That, I believe, is where the United States is at right now. The smart people know the fall is coming. We know there's going to be major impact when we hit the ground. It's just a matter of what is this country going to look like? What is going to be left? And what is our day-to-day life going to look like once that fall occurs? Kevin B., I manage a Dollar General and it's getting sketchy fast. I appreciate these comments, Kevin, because I consider this intel. Anything that you are seeing at your Dollar General, because Dollar Generals many of these are in rural America. So anything that you see shortage wise or We're not getting as many trucks as we used to, this sort of thing. Um, Anything that's flying off the shelves and maybe getting ready to cause a shortage, please leave those comments because I would love to hear from you on that, as well as anybody else that works in retail and there's just seeing crazy stuff. You're saying it's getting sketchy fast. I would love to know what that means exactly, if you don't mind, brother. Kratom craving. Okay. If America collapses, illegals will flee back to their home countries. I disagree. I don't think they're going anywhere. They look, even when America collapses, and again, it's hard to predict what that's going to look like. I still think there's going to be more opportunity and more safety here, even though it looks like Mad Max, than it would in old Mexico, for example. It would have to be biblically bad here in the United States before these people pull their tents up, their tent stakes, and go back to where they came from. Either our government's going to have to step in and do it, and I don't believe that's going to happen, or it's going to be really, really bad here in the United States before that happens. Pat Atlantean sounds like population control. It's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Um, and that's part of the point I was trying to make yesterday, Pat, is seems like it's a playbook that's being run on us. You know, the westernized democracies, and again, I get that we are not a straight up democracy, but the free countries, with Europeans in them, let's flood them with mass illegals. Let's water everything down until the country's unrecognizable, till the population's unrecognizable, till the traditions are unrecognizable, and let's sack these countries from within. And that seems to be what's happening, even according to the Deagle report. Stargazer, it's only 20 miles of wall. Won't fix the problem. It's an election time strategy. Exactly. Joe Biden has made a mess of things. I mean, you folks can debate me on that, but it's a losing position. He's made a mess of things. Hate on Trump as much as you want to. Joe Biden has jacked this country up. And now that we are in an election cycle, now he's trying to get all the dirt and the blood and the mud off his hands so he looks clean. So he looks like he's the savior for the next 4 years. And that's all this is. This 20 miles of wall. He doesn't know what else to do. I mean, the dude, to my knowledge, has not even been to the actual border. I think Kamala went and got close. She was a few miles away from the border for like 30 minutes. The borders are, but I don't know that Biden's ever even been there. And if he has, he hasn't fixed anything. Um, so these people, they obviously don't care about the problems, or they would have started day one trying to fix the problems. Remember when Trump got into office and he had a stack of executive orders and he's like, we're taking care of, for example, the VA hospitals. We're doing this right now. We're doing this stuff right now. That's what a real president looks like. A real president doesn't stumble around for 3.5 years and do absolutely nothing and then try and clean up the mess before the parents get home, so to speak. Um, and I hope people aren't dumb enough to fall for it, but they're out there. They will. There's some people out there that really will see that in mainstream media and say, "Man, Joe Biden really is trying to fix the problem at the border." Is he? Deagle claimed economic collapse, and then that would lead to mass depression, not just economic depression, but they're saying Izzy's saying mental depression among the population and a high suicide rate, and you are correct. The Deagle report did claim that. The Deagle report said, here in the United States, the economy is going to nosedive into the ground. A lot of people are going to lose everything all at one time. Mentally, they're not prepared for it. They're not gonna know how to respond to it. It's gonna be far worse than the Wall Street crash that led to the Great Depression, and they're gonna look for an easy way out because they just don't know what to do anymore, and that's going to lead to a lot of the depopulation. You're correct on that. Uh, Imkin, I'm going another way. depopulation due to war. And I think you mean widespread global war, and that's possible. But again, as I was saying yesterday morning, 70 to 80% of the world's population gone just like that. Man, we would be looking at a global war like we have never seen before. This world has seen some nasty, nasty wood chipper style conventional wars, and we've not seen depopulation anywhere close to that. So we would be looking at conventional warfare on every single continent, nukes flying, EMPs flying, total famine, maybe a pandemic thrown in there in order to get to even 70% depopulation. It's kind of scary to think about when you get right down to it, how bad things would have to be to reach even 70%, which was the low projection, according to the Deagle report. And finally, Mark D. I'd argue that we don't have a population problem. We have a density and distribution problem. Depends on the country that you're talking about. Here in the United States, again, close to, I think, 80% of people live in cities. So there's definitely a density problem. But the broader thing is, for me, we don't have a population problem at all as citizens of this planet, right? We don't it's not us. We don't have the problem. There's plenty of room for us to spread out and grow and build and stuff like this. It's the elites that have the problem. It's again these vampires that meet in Switzerland once or twice a year. They're the ones with a population problem because the more we grow in population, the more we spread out and begin to do our thing, the less control they have over us. And that's what it's all about to those folks. You know, I'd mentioned yesterday um, in the exclusive chat, these people in Switzerland, they're hoarding gold, right? They're hoarding food, real food, folks, and they're building multi-million dollar bunkers in Switzerland. And Switzerland is not even going to be a flashpoint if there's a world war, I would argue, but they're preparing for something catastrophic. What that is, I don't know, but they are preparing as though 70 or 80% of the world's population is going to be wiped from existence. And that's enough to get me prepping and keep me prepping. You know what I'm saying? I can't afford a multi-million dollar bunker. I can't afford to stack gold. But if they're doing all of this, and it looks like they're doing it almost as orchestrated panic, you can believe I'm still gonna be stacking stuff, including brass, right? So, keep your head on a swivel. Someone mentioned yesterday that this decade is starting off very, very badly, and I told this person, I said, I think it was Ra, I said, "I'm not trying to gloom and doom you, but we're just getting started with this decade. This decade is gonna end much worse than it started out. So please continue to prepare, folks. This has been the rundown. Thank you very much for your comments, and I'll see y'all on Monday.